none of that other stuff matters if you don't know who you're connecting with and what their pain points and their questions along the way. Like if you're just throwing stuff out there, because what you think is what they care about, well, then you're not really doing a good job.
Welcome to Connect to Market. I'm Casey Cheshire. Join us as we learn from marketing leaders who are driving founder-led growth. We're sponsored by Ringmaster, building B2B podcasts and communities to reconnect you with your audience. All right, let's do this. Man, I am excited because we've got a great conversation that's about to unfold here. I am going to be chatting with an absolute expert, wizard, in a very important topic when it comes to connecting to your market. I can't wait to sort of like reveal the treasure to everyone. But before I go too much down the rabbit hole, like, who is he, Casey? Who's our guest? Just let me tell you about him. He is, well, first and foremost, part of the Connect to Market community, definitely a community member, but he's also a marketing leader, a thought leader in his space. He's growth minded. He's an automation expert. He's performance focused. It's all about that ROI, right? ROI, whether it's on the brand or demand side, and just coordinating across the entire board. So he is absolutely fantastic. VP of Marketing at CareCloud, Cody Frew. Welcome to the show, sir.
Glad to be here. Excited. Ready to go.
Dude, let's go. Let's dive into this. So in order to ask you my first question, I got to put on my giant foam finger.
Okay.
And ask you, Cody, what is the number one thing that marketers need to do in order to connect to their market?
All right. The number one thing that marketers need to do to connect to their market is build their buyer journey map. And that may come kind of not out of left field because it's kind of like a basic thing. It's marketing 101, but it's not, the hottest, sexiest AI trend right now. But I feel it is super important to take a step back and really dive into defining your ICP and your buyer persona and really making sure you have that entire journey mapped out. So what is that? I mean, the basics, everyone knows what buyer persona is, but what does that buyer persona look like across all the stages from when they are first looking for solutions to all the way when they're a customer and being a potential reference? So what that looks like is it's mapping out certain criteria of their buyer objectives, their buyer actions, their questions that they're going to have at each one of those stages, right? So you're saying at this stage, they may have some different questions and some different goals in mind. Whereas like in the contract stage, they may, have some different objectives and needs, and maybe different people are involved. And so that whole matrix really is outlines, that entire journey so that you can pinpoint what type of content, what type of campaigns, all the awesome things that we're doing can be referenced back to, does this match our buyer journey map? And it's so just like revealing, and it helps so much. A lot of people don't do it. And it's just really, it's worth it to take the time again. And it's so crazy for me to say that's the number one thing because I'm very much a data marketing, data-driven, performance-based. You mentioned it, like I'm all about data, all about metrics, tracking everything, very much my MO. So to say like my number one thing is kind of like actually surprising to me. But when I think about it, it's like none of that other stuff matters if you don't know who you're connecting with, who you're and what their pain points and their questions along the way. Like if you're just throwing stuff out there because what you think is what they care about, well, then you're not really doing a good job. So all about being efficient and, being able to map content campaigns to your buyer journey makes you efficient and makes all those performance metrics even better. So that's the number one.
Dude, I feel like you just need to do like a little mic drop thing. Like, like it's almost like, okay, mic drop, I'm out, peace, and go about your way, marketers, and go forth and do this and map this.
Yeah, mic drop for the most basic thing, but people just not, it just gets overshadowed. Yeah.
And like you even mentioned, it's 101, but like, I don't feel like people do it that often, if not ever. I definitely have heard of it.
Yeah.
Some people have talked about it, but why don't more people do it?
I'll admit, like we didn't do it for the longest time too. It's just because there's so many things leadership and there's always goals. Like you want to like get going. Let's get campaigns out. We need to get some leads. We need to convert. We need to get sales. Like all of this stuff is like super priority and just like it just buries some of those things of like the basics of being able to take a step back and people get busy. I get it. It's a kind of like uh, there's like a time consuming process and we did it earlier this year and I can admit like it was like, are we really going to do this? And then my team was like, are we really going to do, is this like matter? Do we really need to like define it? We know who our audience is. We know what they care about. Like,
Yeah.
but this is a very granular look at specific questions, specific needs across the entire journey. So it can be a, a bear to tackle and take the time to do it. But trust me, it definitely is revealing on looking at and seeing what gaps happen. So I know it's basic. I know it takes time to do, but there's no way that won't be beneficial. Like there's no risk other than it just takes some time.
I feel like it falls under I feel like there's a category of things in marketing, and you even said it, hey, it's not the sexiest thing, but like there's this like category where it's not setting up some like sexy retargeting IBM, ABM, insert acronym, CTM.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the thing that boggles your mind. It's not an ad on a blimp, but you just got to do it. It's like you got to roll up your sleeves and do it. And it's just unfun. And maybe we just don't, I don't think a lot of the time we just don't know what the answer is.
Yeah. And you usually are bringing in like product members, you're bringing in sales, you're bringing in marketing, you're bringing in customer success. I mean, people that are talking with the clients directly, you want to bring all those people in. So it's a lot. And those meetings can get big and it can get, you have to like stay on track and set objectives of like, we need to find this here and sometimes you have multiple ICPs, multiple buyer personas. So it's a lot. It can be, we had several flavors of just one product. So it can be a lot. We had like 10 products. So it takes a lot.
Yeah. Man, all the things. One of the key things you brought up, which I thought was fascinating, and I think at some point we'll roll up our sleeves too and talk about how to actually make this thing, what the core ingredients are. But the idea that the objectives, the actions, the state, like all these things, that there's changes along the way. I think sometimes we wish and hope that things were static, like you could just acquire a database and from 1980. I once joined a company, and they're like, oh yeah, here's our NetSuite database since the 80s. And it literally had people in there since then.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of these people may not even be alive anymore.
And it's so easy to just be like, okay, we have this lead. They're going to have this question and we need to answer, X, Y, and Z, and they're going to be a fit for us, or that's all they care about. And that's what it is from the beginning. It's not going to change. That's not the case. I mean, early on in the awareness stages, they're going to be maybe just really exploring, I have a problem. And I don't even know what the solution is. Okay, they have a set of questions. They have a set of objectives they're doing now, very exploratory. Then as they progress, it's going to be very, very different questions and needs they're going to be asking when they're at the contract stage. Some products need to have a really in-depth conversation about ROI and how you can present like, hey, this is going to make you more efficient, produce more dollars, whatever the metric is. And so they have to have different questions. They usually have different stakeholders. They need to get leadership buy-in for certain purchases. So there's just, those just change. And this just helps determine like what your content strategy is. Everything gets kind of revolved around this, and it'll reveal some gaps. It absolutely will.
Yeah, the gaps, huge. Like, what kind of gaps have you seen get revealed?
Yeah, we noticed. Yeah, for one of our, during this one project earlier in the year, we had a product that it was a nice to have, wasn't a need to have product. So we found that, and we kind of knew it, but this like really like solidified it, was we knew in the later stages, we didn't have a ton of content around ROI, kind of how I mentioned. It was this nice to have product. It needs to get leadership buy-in, and they're going to ask, why do we need this? On their solutions, what are we doing now? Why doesn't that work? So being able to basically create content that we didn't have before that was about ROI, but also materials that helped the people that we know really wanted our solution get approval from their leadership team. Like that we were actually marketing to, they wanted it. They were diehard, but they just couldn't get approval for it because it costs money and is just going to actually show. So creating campaigns, content, all of that. We had a full webinar series, like all kinds of things really devoted to helping our end user who wants it to be able to get it approved. So materials around that, which we kind of knew we had a gap, but this like really helped solidify and outline, like, these are the questions we need to hit. These are the needs, pulling in from sales and customer success. Like, we definitely know what things need to be hit. And so we created whole campaigns and like content, all that stuff around it. So it was really helpful.
And, you might have had people just stuck there. I remember we once had a gap. It was more like even a technical gap where we discovered, we had a client back in the day where they had something like 30,000, maybe it's 3,000. I don't know, my math. Either 3,000, it might've been 30,000. There was a lot, leads stuck in between CRM and, marketing automation and CRM.
Yeah.
Stuck.
Not going over. Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't make the trip. They didn't want to get in the ship and make it over.
And sometimes that shows up on reports as like lost reason or didn't qualify reason because it just price or leadership. Like, that's all you maybe would get. So this allows you to really dive in as to why exactly these things don't convert. What stages are they making it to? So yeah, that can turn into all kinds of fun stuff, like into pipeline velocity and the time it takes to close, like all these things and these fun, RevOps metrics that we can then dive into. But this helps actually reveal and solve, some of these from a content campaign strategy.
Man. All right. So right about now, people are thinking, well, I've done one before. I've thought about doing one before. And I thought about it enough that I think I know how I would do it. But what's important? What's most important when you think about doing this and what makes it successful in your world?
Yeah. So we can take what we did and some steps that you can go through to make this happen. And the first one is probably the most obvious, is just defining your buyer persona and your ideal customer profile, that ICP. So that's probably what everyone's got to so far, right? They probably defined that. They know who their buyer persona is, these type of titles, this type of whatever, facility makeup, whatever it may be. All kinds of things that a normal buyer persona would be defined as.
Right.
And then you take that and you create a matrix, a big table that has all the stages. It's not necessarily like full stages to match your pipeline, but like close. It's like awareness, defining requirements, they're evaluating vendors, they're doing contract negotiation, like all that kind of like just general stages. And then you, on the rows, you have the buyer objectives, you have the actions that they're taking, and then you have the questions that they're asking. So the objectives are like they're trying to solve a need, they're trying to do solve some whatever they're doing. The actions are, where are they actually going to find this information? Are they going to some industry publications? Are they Googling things? Are they using AI? Where are they going to, to find these answers they're looking for? And then we have those questions that they're asking. So you do that for every stage. It's maybe a matrix of like 3x6 or something. So nothing crazy, but you work as a team and you pull it up and you literally just fill it in as a team of like, all right, what do you need to care about here? And everyone chimes in and we get feedback from everyone. That's really important. Can't just be marketing doing that. You have to really be talking with everyone else who talks with the clients, talks with the customers. So you have this matrix, and then you start, once you have it, then you go look at your content, right? So you look at all your content. And this also takes a good amount of time too. When we did it, and it was valuable. Again, it just took time. Like we had to like split it out and divide and conquer. Yeah. But you take all your content and your resource library and your sales materials and everything, you put on a list, and you'd be like, all right, which one of these applies to these stages? And which like kind of stages. So which content piece is going into what? And then when you're done with all that, you may say, oh, we have no content in this stage. We have nothing to help sales with ROI information. We have nothing about, we're not doing anything on these industry sources that we find. Like customer success is telling us that, we hear people are going to this website or this industry publication to like involve the community, ask questions, Reddit, whatever it is. So like, all right, well, now we have content and some channels that we can now explore further because we weren't aware of those. Because things can just get messy. You have so many things going on. Like you may think you have a pretty concise and full content strategy, but you may
Yeah.
not. And it's worth just finding out, right? Because as I mentioned earlier, there's no risk. Like if it sparks one idea or one new content or one new campaign, like great, that's worth it because that could turn into something. So you've mapped it to their content. Next step, all right, identify those gaps that they mentioned. So you'll see which ones we don't have. And then the final one, coming back to my data-driven roots, measure everything. So have your attribution
Yeah.
built out to where like during the whole stage, they came in at this place, they did this webinar, this ROI thing did help them convert, whatever it is, help close. Yeah. So definitely measure everything because it's in general, you have to. Because I
Right.
don't measure everything as a standard rule, but yeah.
Yeah. Man. I love the idea of getting everyone in the same room to ask these questions. Do you ever get to a point where everyone's going like, yeah, what do they care about at this point? Or do people tend to have some info there?
I think people have more info than we think.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because I think we all know, especially if someone's been working with the customers in the industry, whatever it is, for a while, like people know. And when you have people in a room where it's like encouraged to everyone talking, sometimes you have to, as the marketing leader, kind of facilitating that discussion and that communication. But we
Yeah.
typically did find that people were that had insight into things that we maybe didn't think of. So it's definitely good to have a mix of people in there because,
Mhm.
and it's definitely that classic, like trying to find a balance of not too many people, maybe doing it in splinters. It can be a lot, but it did work. It did work well. We did find that it did work well. If something did happen like that to where, we're all just like, oh man, we don't know. What would they want here? Okay, well let's tag that. Let's move on. Let's not derail the rest of the conversation. We'll just kind of mark that. But let's do some more research. Let's pull some other people in. Maybe they would do it. So we would identify those if we had them. But I was pleasantly surprised that it was definitely the opposite, where we had people were chiming in. All the questions were going off the page. Like it was putting a lot in there. So it's better to have that probably.
And then do you ever like feed yourself knowledge? How do you like to get the knowledge to even bring to that room?
So I work very closely with the SDR team. I lead the demand gen team. So they're getting, they're on the front lines. So I'm getting constant feedback from them, like what they're hearing as those initial questions, as they're like the first round of conversations with leads and prospects. And then we do a lot of measuring as far as what SDR email templates are working, what marketing templates are working, what communication is getting most traction. So I take in my information that way from both analytically and seeing what type of content is performing, but also just subjectively of like hearing on our weekly SDR meetings of what's working and what's not. And that we utilize that as like, it's not a game, but the SDR team I found really enjoys, oh, hey, is this working? Let me use this template. Hey, I thought this one worked for you. Did you try? Like, there's a constant, like, really encouraging a sharing of like, I guess it's not gamification, but it is like a game in the sense of like, let's figure out what's going to get traction, what template's going to work the best. So them being empowered to like try different templates and create new ones and come up with different subject lines and all that fun stuff. That I feel like sparks a lot of knowledge about what the leads are caring about.
Yeah.
So I love hearing that, even if I'm not like fully in the conversation, but I see the threads on Slack or whatever, and just be like, yeah, these are the things that people are talking about.
Where did like, we touched on this a second ago, like the idea of like customer discovery and is it at events or like, how do we know that we're not hallucinating? I struggle with that a lot. Am I making up what I think they know, or is that for real?
That's a good question. I've never thought about like, are we actually hallucinating? Everyone's talking about like, is AI hallucinating? But maybe we are too. That's a good question. I think having to have actual stories helps that. Someone saying this customer told me they met us here, and this, or they went into a forum or a regional meeting and they were talking about things here, or from a marketing stat, I can see they searched for this and found us here, landed on this page that was a competitor comparison. Like those types of stories, I think helps me feel like I'm not hallucinating because I can always point back to like, well, this actually happened.
Yeah,
But that's a
right.
good question. But you have to check yourself of like, as we're going through this process of like, is this actually a question they're asking? Is this actually a place where they're finding us? 'Cause that is a good, you know, check to do.
Yeah, check just to check to make sure you're on point.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Um, what do most people get wrong about maps, do you think?
I think doing them for the sake of doing them. Like we know we want to do a map because we want to identify gaps and help our content strategy, help our campaign strategy throughout the entire journey. Doing them for the sake of doing them, or just like, oh, they at this stage they care about this, but not do anything with it. I think
Yeah.
um, that can be a failure in the project because don't just do it for the sake of doing it, but don't do it because, oh, you heard this was a thing. You heard from Connect to Market that you should do our buyer journey. Like, do it because you want to solve something, you want to get better. I think that will help the entire outcome.
How long does this typically take?
Maybe like a couple rounds of like a couple hour meetings, and maybe it wasn't even that long, but for each map, it probably took like 2 hour long sessions. And then we would then to actually like define everything. And then marketing would then take that, spend some time mapping out to the content to each one. So, I mean, I bet you can knock it out in a week easily, having a
Mhm.
handful of meetings, maybe like 4 hours worth of meetings. Like it's not like crazy, but
Right.
when it just comes to like priority and like there's always fires going on, it's hard to make room for that.
Yeah. But that's not but to your point, that's not a terrible amount of time, right? It's not like
Not
you're
crazy. And
yeah.
maybe I'm underestimating. Maybe it did take a lot
Yeah.
longer and I'm just blacked it out. But
Is that per
yeah,
persona?
per one, yeah,
Yeah.
per persona. So when you start having a bunch of personas, that does add up. So maybe that's what reality was.
Man. Well, next I wanted to kind of like get a sense from you on your take on community in general, how it fits into marketing mix and your thoughts on the connect to market community. I know you've had a chance to swing by.
Yeah.
What was the thing?
Well, I'm always looking for more resources, kind of people that are similar to myself. I think we all have, very similar challenges. We may think that, we're in our little bubble, that, oh, no one's doing things like this. No one's, we're so unique and doing our own thing and we're awesome or we're not awesome, whatever it may be. And then you join a round table, you interact with the community and you realize, oh, you know what? Everyone's going through the same thing. Everyone has very similar um, things going on, issues, questions, hurdles. It's surprising to me, and it's always good to hear some reassurance that other people are having the same experience. And I think it's really important to be able to have and to engage with other people that are doing the same thing.
Yeah, so true. Um, Man, wow, that's powerful stuff. Anything coming around the bend in the future that you're excited about?
I mean, I think everyone probably has the same answer with anything involving AI. There's so many fun things that I just get really excited about. So much that I'm like researching everything that we can like possibly do. But like, all right, where do we start? Is kind of like, I mean, obviously we're doing like a little bit. And as we retool a lot of things internally, we can do a lot more. Our leadership definitely wants to leverage AI as much as possible, and I want to too, mainly to see what works. Right, like a lot of marketing is trying things and failing, and seeing what works and not failing, and continue that. So I love that that game plan of just trying things and see what works. So that's what I kind of want to do with AI, right? I want to see what's working, what's not. Is it from a, you know, um, data standpoint to help identify potential new leads? Is it, having an AI agent that actually does a lot of work prior to when it gets actually in touch with someone? How much no touch sales can we get? It's really saying, like, where can we push the envelope? What's too much work towards just doesn't make sense? Like, there's got to be a balance, but I think everyone's still trying to figure out what that balance is.
Yeah.
And it's exciting times. Like, it's definitely a new frontier. And I think everyone's probably sharing some similar excitement, I think. But I'm also interested in seeing and hearing from others of what's working, what's not working, because I'm sure everyone's going to have that.
Yeah, dude. My next question for you is really like, who are you? Who are you? How do you know all these things? Can you like take me back in time? You know, little you, did you know you were going to grow up and, be a marketing leader and,
Yeah.
helping companies exit and all these different things are happening? And what
Yeah.
was it like growing up you?
Oh, man. I think I don't want to like romanticize it, but I think I did have a little bit of that. I mean, my family is all engineers, scientists, like very like that type of brain. And I knew I didn't want that, even though I probably have some of that DNA in me. But I knew I wanted to be involved very early on, pretty early on. Of like, I wanted to be involved in businesses and maybe even marketing at some point. I just know I really liked the idea of helping businesses and seeing how like that worked. Like,
Yeah.
selling popcorn tickets as a little kid, like all this stuff, like how I make money. But it's really just like, how did this is a fun game of like, how can we make businesses grow? And so I think I had that throughout. And then as I got into like college and going through my MBA program, I knew that I really liked it. And
Yeah.
so I was very much involved in a lot of, the Small Business Institute and a lot of things outside the business school, just like help small businesses go through, helping larger customers, like just anything that like that just really resonated to like my core of just like,
Mm-hmm.
this is so fun. I just want to, could talk about this all day long. I just want to help companies grow. I just want to have a challenge and see what we can do. Something really fun is just being put inside like a little box and seeing what you can do inside that box and have creative solutions. So I've always really enjoyed that aspect. I think from early on.
It's cool that you sort of like, stumbled into it, or what told you like even go to school for it,
Yeah, it is. I mean, a- so I went to school obviously for like marketing and things, but what they teach in school actually isn't, at least back then, it wasn't like what like B2B marketing is. It was a very much like, let's take a case study about Nestle, like like things that aren't
Yeah.
fully
Yeah.
relatable to what a lot of what we're doing is. So
Yeah.
started off very early on and just I happen to know, which is I think crazy, HubSpot like early days, uh 2012-ish timeframe, like HubSpot early days. I happen to know it really well. And so I got hired on early on as marketing automation specialist, where I just focused on like doing that. And not just, I had to teach myself pretty much everything. And I just kind of kept on leading into, all right, knew this and I was always open to learn more. I'm very curious. If there's ever something I don't know, I'll figure it out. Like from website design and from an email strategy to trade shows to budgeting. I mean, everything. I probably kind of had to like teach myself a little bit. And it just kept building off of that. And then more and more responsibilities. And yeah, here we are. It's just kind of led here. But I think what drove everything was, yeah, curiosity and just wanting to help grow.
Yeah, there's something about curiosity, like when it strikes, man, what what isn't fun, just like exploring and diving into topics and
I've definitely would say I'm very curious about everything. Probably my wife would say it's probably too much and probably annoys her because I just want to like dive into know out everything of that's
yeah.
going on in the world and just how everything works, how I get the best grass, how do I do my own electrical, like it's too much. I would agree. I probably have too much level of curiosity, but it works in business sense because I get to figure out how things work and then how to make them work.
Totally. And you know what's funny is like, if you send an email and you screw up dynamic content,
Mm-hmm.
that hurts.
That
But
hurts.
when you screw up the wiring on something and you accidentally create an arc through your body, you
Yeah.
know,
That one's I have to be a
kills the
little
rest
more
of you.
cautious on that. But in traveling, climbing the attic in the summer is never ideal. But
Yeah.
I definitely I did it though. Did have to hire someone.
Yeah. Well, there it is. So,
No one come and like do an inspection, but
yeah. A ground wire. This isn't in the ground. What do we need that for?
our house is old, nothing grounded. So
Really?
it's wild. Yeah, we have to like
That's
redo
cool.
all our wiring. But I'm not gonna do that part. But if I want to add something new, I fight definitely.
Who needs a ground? Just tie them all together. Just see what happens. You
Yeah, that's
flip
easy.
the switch on, the AC turns on. You know, you're like, oh,
Just
wow.
keep the kids away from it. Be all right.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally. Yeah, keep the kids away. Well, hey, man, my next question really is like a hypothetical question. Are you
Yeah.
ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. You see, I may or may not have a time machine over here in New Hampshire. So you
Okay.
come visit, you know, do
Yeah.
a customer event, you know, you help
Love it.
map things out in Boston, and you're like, hey, I'm like, hey, Barry, come on up.
Yeah.
So it's in the backyard covered in a tarp. So we get some lobster, get some beer, and we use the time machine, right?
Right.
But it's a particular kind of time machine where we go back in time, where you get to meet yourself a couple days, literally 4 days after graduating with that business degree. A little bit of marketing, little entrepreneurial studies. You just got the shiny new diploma.
Yep.
You get to talk to that guy, that Cody. What do you say to him?
Beyond just buy a house right away.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I'd probably tell him just like what your core like drive and curiosity is going to work, right? I keep that. Don't try to like not ask questions. Don't try to not be curious. Continue that because that will take you where you want to go.
Cool.
I think sometimes fresh out the gate, you're kind of like not knowing when to jump in, when to not dive into something, when to just kind of like fall into uh, the cog. And I think everything that I can like say like went well and progressed in my career has been through things where I didn't do that and took those extra steps, went out of my way to like find a solution. I just dove into something to where it works. You never know what's going to actually turn into those things. And I would tell them, just keep doing that. Like, don't lose that. And I don't know if that's like really, I guess the answer was kind of what you were looking for, but I just know if I was myself, I'd want to hear that.
Yeah. No. It's not about what I want to hear. Yeah. It's definitely what that you needs to hear. Do you think you would listen to yourself?
Probably not. I don't know. If it was myself, yeah, probably. If it was someone else, maybe not. But I think I would because obviously I did do those things. But maybe I just never really did it. It took me a while to realize that was kind of what driving a lot of my growth and success was those core competencies. I think I was very retrospective recently. So I think having that early on maybe would have scaled me further, or maybe not have. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's always good to kind of hear like, hey, you were like this. Keep being like that. Don't change that part.
Yeah, it's wild thinking about things like that. No advice on running though, huh? You're not like, hey man, make sure you do your toe taps, you know?
I mean, I used to hate running back then. So if I told them like, hey, if I told someone on my post-grad self of like, hey, you're going to get really into running, I'd be like, you're an idiot. Why are you talking?
You're crazy.
Yeah. I only recently got into it. We got a dog that was super active and during like COVID, just need to be out running all the time or she would go crazy. So I just run with her. And once you get past that, like hurdle of like, oh, I can run comfortably now for a while. It gets really fun. And then of course my natural tendency to like really dive into something, got really into it, probably way too into it. And then
Yeah.
just didn't stop.
Oh man. And now, I mean, how far would you go nowadays?
Well, I think I'm not like crazy. I'm definitely not like not doing majors. I'm
Not
not.
doing 100 billion miles.
No, I would. My comfortable like range, I think where I'm like feeling good but not pushing it, is like around 40 miles, 30, 40 miles per week is probably like a good like, this is good. This is reasonable. Not overtraining, but I'm like, this is fun. I feel good. So that's like my sweet spot is probably around 40 miles per
Well,
week.
I feel like that's a solid number right there. That's an actual running. What's your number one running tip?
I would think my number one running tip is just consistency. Like it's really hard to just like get going, but once you do, it will be very surprising to anyone of like, oh, if I just do this enough, like it's gonna become really easy, and then you actually enjoy it. Like it takes a while to get past that hurdle, and I really do enjoy it. I mean, it is like I'll go with the dog. We'll go really early in the morning when it's dark out, and there's no cars on the streets, and we're just running through the neighborhood in the middle of the street, and just listening to podcasts, and I'm just relaxing, and it's like the best. I haven't been doing it actually the last few weeks just because we've been so busy, but so I'm itching.
Yeah.
Getting out there tomorrow probably.
Get back after it.
It's starting to get cold, which is fine. I love the cold is fine.
Well, like, and my next question really is like, where can people, you want to reach out and they want to chat, connect, say hi, fellow community members, where do you want them to go?
Yeah, you just find me on LinkedIn, Cody Frew, Frew. Don't think there's that many of us, so I should be there on LinkedIn. But yeah, happy to coach people. People message me and I message them of like anything they have a question about. Always happy to jump on calls and talk to people. Love meeting other marketers.
Especially if they're doing a map, hey, does my map suck? No, it's actually really good. Good job.
No map will ever suck if you're doing it. Like it's like just that art of doing it. Like it's gonna be great.
There's something to that. Because you're just thinking about your buyer in different stages. You're like thinking about them, right?
Yeah.
Spending extra time thinking about them can't be a bad thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think we have a lot of things in it. We think about them a lot, but we not in this capacity, probably not as much as we think we do. It's gotta be a record around me thinks is in a sentence.
Yeah. Normally people have their sound bites early on. You, sir, sneak them in right toward the end.
Gotta sneak them in.
Powerful. Now I don't know what to clip, right? Damn it, Cody, this was going so great. And then you just throw last minute wisdom. So I'm like, damn, do we clip the map? We'll have to clip it all. Dude, thank you so much for coming on here. I feel like this is just like our own little time warp. But boom, time's gone. There it went. What a cool, to talk through maps, to talk through the thing that it's like the discipline of running requires the discipline for mapping. It's that go out there and do it. It's raining. I don't care. Go do it. Get
out there.
Get out there. Yeah. Same thing with the map, right? So, man, dude, thank you for coming on here.
Thank you for having me. This is so fun, and I'm excited I'll continue to watch more and hopefully do some more of those roundtables. And I really appreciate having me on.
Hell yeah, dude. And for those listening, if you learned something, and I freaking knew you did, because I literally have 2 pages of notes over here, front and back, then share this with someone else, whether it's about the objectives, the actions, the stages. Be more efficient, right? Like if you're into data and metrics like Cody and I are, cool. This is going to help. This is going to help with that. And if you have gaps in the data or you have gaps in your process, like the 30,000 people stuck between here and there, mapping it out is going to be the thing that needs to happen. So, if you're doing it, share it, let us know, hit us up in the comments. Don't forget to hit up connecttomarket.com and ask Cody any questions you have. But otherwise, dude, thanks again, man. It's been great.
Yeah. That's it.
All right. Everybody, this has been a crazy cool, very exciting episode of the Connect to Market pod. We will see you all next time. And that wraps up another episode. Thank you for joining. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at connecttomarket.com. Connect to Market is sponsored by Ringmaster, creating podcasts and communities that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth.